Good morning and welcome to our 16th online training webinar. Today's session is all about mobile working done right. So in essence, this is a walkthrough of our MARKUS mobile app for sites with as many of the system options as we can possibly turn on to show you its full capabilities. Today's session, as I said, is all about how MARKUS can help you improve your operations with MARKUS Mobile for Sites. So this is what you might know as our AMS system. It's the standard almost building maintenance version of our app. So a lot of our contractors use this. And so I'm going to cover off a whole bunch of things, as I mentioned before, but we've got things such as capturing the key start of visit information, risk assessments, no access procedures and how to end your jobs properly, out of hours, all that kind of thing. There's a whole load of things in this that I couldn't list, otherwise it would be a silly slide to show on screen. What I would say is, as we go along, some of the things will be familiar to you, some things might not be. Bear in mind, as we go through, a lot of what you see on screen can be customized. So we can remove certain things, we can add certain things, we can reword things. So if there's things that you're spotting on our demo system today that you think would be really useful for you to have on your mobile app, then make a note of it and do let us know, because we can certainly help you with that. First of all, it's not quite part of the run through of the mobile app, but without installing the app, you're not going to get very far. So I'm not going to show you how you do this. There is a YouTube walkthrough which covers it. And often, certainly for newer customers, if you've never done it before, you sort of often do give us a ring and we'll talk you through it, but it's very straightforward. There is a YouTube video about how to install the mobile app, which you can see the little icon for it there. Basically, there's three ways of getting that mobile app onto your device. You can email a link to the operative from within the operative setup. You can see the screenshot there. You've got the email link. That will send an email to the email address that you've got set up against that operative. So they need to be able to access that email address from the device you're putting this on. You've also got a QR code. So if they are in the office with you, or you're setting up the phone or tablet before you hand it out to the person that's going to use it, you can scan the QR code and that does exactly the same thing. It downloads the app. And also there is a manual link that you can copy and paste as well. If you wanted to send it via WhatsApp or something, you can do that as well. One of the things to be aware of, if your organisation does have any restrictions on devices, they might have installed some sort of a shell over the top of it to stop your operatives installing applications or doing things they're not supposed to. If you do have that, you may find that you can download the app but can't install it. Or what you might find is that you're not allowed to download it, but once it is on the device, you can install it. So there are certain things that IT providers do to restrict this kind of thing. So if you do have that, then that's the sort of thing you'll need to have a chat to your IT provider about to lift those restrictions for the install process. Once the app is installed, we've got a login screen. We display on the login screen, as you can see, just above the password field there, who the app is registered to. That should be the name of the operative who's using it, or in the case of some organisations, maybe team 1, team 2. If you're working in teams of scaffolders, for example, it's not necessarily the name, it's the team. The password field, of course, don't forget you need to put a password in there. The default password is within the app when you set it up. At the bottom, you've got the version number that you're running. That's always quite useful to know, and also the name of your company there. So nothing outlandish on this screen, but that's the login screen explained for those of you that maybe don't actually see the mobile app in your job. So again, bearing in mind that screens can be added in or taken away from customer mobile app versions. So the clock on screen, it's an option. You don't have to have this. A lot of our customers do, and this is done at the start of the working day. We are able to surface on this screen the registration number of the vehicle that you are driving for work. And also we can capture vehicle odometer readings. Now, the screen you're looking at the moment is the very latest version of that, which remembers what registration number your vehicle is for between days, because it sort of assumes you're going to be using the same vehicle each time. Of course, you can change it if you move between company vehicles, but it will remember it. And equally, it also does clever things with the mileage as well. The basic one that a lot of you are using is you simply put the odometer reading in. But you can see in my screenshot just here, if you were to enter a mileage reading that was incorrect, that's sort of less than the one that you've already put in the last time, it won't let you. So you can see here I was trying to put 12,145 in, but the last time I did a mileage reading in my app, it was 12154. So I was trying to go less than what I'd previously recorded. So we warn you of that. So this, again, if this is something useful for you, you can ask us and we can implement this for you. You'll notice on the screen down here there's a skip button. You don't have to clock on to look at your jobs list. You can press skip clock on. The only thing is, if you do that, you can't accept a job. Skipping clock on will allow you to see your jobs list. Say, for example, you wanted to look tonight for tomorrow. That's fine. You can press skip clock on, have a look at where you're going in the morning, and then only clock on when you need to, first thing tomorrow morning. Related to clock on and completely out of the flow of the mobile app, right at the very end of everything, you've got this screen here, which is the retrospective clock off. So if you do use clocking on and clocking off on your device, if you forget to do it at the end of your working day and you start work the next morning, you'll get this screen. This is reminding you, as it says on screen, it's quite obvious to the engineer who reads it, you forgot to clock off yesterday. When did you finish? And they basically make sure that the date is in, the time they finished, and they can pop in their odometer reading as well. So it's the same as clocking off, just doing it the day after. So I'm only mentioning that at this point because we talked about clocking on. Once you've clocked on, you might see some start of day checks. Now, some customers have got this very in-depth. Some of our customers carry out almost the full VOSA checklist on the vehicles, and some of those, again, scaffolders, for example, have got certain questions that are only applicable to HGVs, sort of the large scaffolding wagons. So again, we can make these questions behave just like our normal survey screen, where if you answer yes to a certain thing, you might get some more questions. If you answer no to something, you might get a pop-up showing some more questions for something else. Or you could have it a really basic start of day check, a bit like what we've got there. But just so you know, you can have pick lists of items, you can have photographs, you can have text boxes, you can launch the numeric keypad if you needed that. And all those answers come back to the back office every day when you clock on, and there's a dashboard widget which is on my screenshot just there in green. That's the dashboard widget of the start of day checks that have been carried out today. So you can see at a glance, when you've got a big list of operatives, who has done them and who hasn't, but also who might have said, yes, I've got a fault with my vehicle. And as you can see, there's a print button which allows you to print that survey off as well, so you can action it if you need to. And so once you've done your start of day checks and you've clocked on, assuming that you want that on at all, you are now on your places to go screen, which should look very familiar. So I'm just pointing out some of the common icons on here that I would normally cover during mobile app training for engineers. Don't worry, a demo of the actual app is coming. I'm not going to do all this on slides either. But some key points on this screen. I've drawn an arrow to the notification icon. A lot of you will have seen the little message bubble, if you like, at the top of the screen there on the title bar, but it doesn't do anything. You've just seen it there, but never done anything with it. There is some menu items that we can add in the back office that allow you to send notifications to operatives. You can send to individuals or the whole team, and it basically sends a notification that when that is received, you get a number popping up there to show the number of unread notifications, and you can click into that and view them. I'll show you that on our app in just a minute. On a job, where you've got the little job card, if you like, here, you can see you've got your icons for different sorts of attachments. So the warning triangle is things to do with hazards or access notes, things like that. The paperclip just indicates that there is a note or attachment on the job. That could be a photograph from previous visit. It could be just a note on the job that the office has put on for you. Some of the job cards look a little different to each other. You've got this one here with the calendar icon, or you've got this one here with the alarm clock and the red text to say appointment. The difference to those two is that one is an appointed visit and one is an anytime slot appointment. So if you do issue out appointments where you need to be there for a certain time, the appointment flag in the back office makes it display in a certain way on the mobile app so you can see them clearly. And also, just while we're looking at the screen here, you can see on my Places to Go screen, we've got this one that's shaded in sort of a grey colour, and these are all in white. That's just almost behaving a little bit like an email client when you click on an email and it shows that you've sort of looked at it. So this one here has been looked at and these haven't. We can also display on the mobile app, the other busy. These are your appointments that you might be putting in there for things such as meetings, training, toolbox talks, even holidays can be surfaced on the mobile app to remind somebody that they're on holiday if they forget. That is our different job cards. And finally, at the bottom of the screen, you've got your buttons. I'll cover these in a little bit more detail on our actual app. So I did say that there'd be a demo. There is. Now we're clocked on, we're going to a bit of a live demo of the app because I think slides are good, but I think we can do this as a live thing. So as I said before, we have on our screen, we've got the little notification icon here for the messages. So before I forget, if I click on there, this takes us into our messages. So unread ones are shown. So you can see here, I've got an unread one here, which is the training, don't forget the webinar this Friday. So you could send out a notification to your engineers, don't forget you've got a toolbox talk on Monday morning. And if I press on that, it will disappear. In the back office, it will show on a report that the engineer has acknowledged that they've seen it. I now no longer have an unread item here, but I can always get back into it. And you can see at the bottom here, there's a see previous messages. Hiding in there is a bunch of things that Ian's been doing on his demos, but mine, don't forget the webinar this Friday. You can also get to messages in the menu and from messages there as well. Refresh refreshes the app, does a dial, connects to the system, and any changes to your jobs, any new jobs, any jobs taken off you, that all will happen as you press refresh. You can also trigger a refresh by pulling down from the top of the screen, like you might sort of swiping down as well. That does the same thing. So you can see if I pull down there, it just does a refresh, and we can see at the bottom it's doing its little dial. You've also got this search icon. Now, if you've only given out a couple of jobs a day, this is fine, you can see them. But if you wanted to search for a particular thing in a jobs list where you've got quite a few, you can start to type and anything matching the search that you do will appear. So you can see I'm looking for Wenning Road and I've just typed the first 3 characters and it's found it already. So you can use the search bar. It's really handy if you have got quite a lot of jobs in your list. We mentioned sort of non-job tasks, things like toolbox talks, meetings and so on. Those can be issued out to you as tasks on your diary as an engineer from the back office. However, underneath this choose button here, you have got the options for clocking off at the end of the working day, of course, but also selecting a non-job activity. And in non-job activity, we can display a list. Now, this one is from our demo system, which goes back a long time, so you can see a massive list of all sorts. But if you wanted to pop yourself on a toolbox talk and say that you're going to finish at 11 o'clock this morning, you would just simply scroll to the appropriate time. You could add a note in if you needed to, and then hit next. Now, we've got on our mobile app, on this demo version, the capturing of odometer readings at every single point so that you can capture mileage all over the place. We haven't got many customers doing it everywhere, but I wanted to show it so that you can see it. We can put this on at different points. So basically what you're seeing today is everything switched on. So I'm just going to pop in a mileage there of 10,000 because I know that that's what I did earlier. This does a little dial, and our dial screen, whilst we're here, you get some green ticks. If they fail, then we get a little red cross and it'll say where it failed. Usually, if it fails on the connecting to internet stage, that's generally your problem, or the mobile network, or something to do with your signal. It's you can't get online. But the other ones could be any number of reasons. We could be having a problem at our side. One of the common things we're having at the moment, certainly with some engineers, is certain Wi-Fi hotspots will block our app. There's a technical term for it, which I don't know, but basically if you're in a McDonald's or a Costa or something like that on the Wi-Fi, you'll probably know that you can't always use certain things like WhatsApp or certainly Netflix or Amazon Video. They don't let you do that. They block them, and that happens with our app sometimes as well. So you might find that you are online, but you just simply can't connect to us. And if you are on one of those networks, take your Wi-Fi off, try your 4G and see if that works. Just as a handy hint on the dial. So anyway, we are on lunch. On the back office, I won't show you. You'll see on the dashboard, on the back office system, it will show that this person it's not lunch. It was a Toolbox Talk, wasn't it? They're on Toolbox Talk. And if I wanted to now go to my first job of the day, you'll notice on my screen at the bottom here, the only thing I can do with this job is reject it. And that's because we're signed into our Toolbox Talk. We can't do anything until we end our current activity. So all we do is we press end. We pop in our odometer reading again because that's what we are capturing, and we end the activity. And now that button has gone back to being choose, but if I did click on my first job of the day, you can see I've got the accept button just there. So we mentioned clocking off. That is done here at the end of your working day. And as we said earlier, if you were to forget to clock off at the end of your day, it's not the end of the world. You can do that from the retrospective clock off screen if required. So before we go into jobs, you'll probably notice when I went onto the main menu to show you messages that the main menu on my demo system is quite lengthy. There's a lot of items on it. The first one, I'm not going to go into everything here, but stock, I'm not going to go into these. This is our stock menu, all to do with stock control. If you're not doing stock control, you won't have this. If you do want to look into doing stock control because it's something that interests you, feel free to watch webinar 10. It is on YouTube, and there are a set of YouTube videos all about stock, but webinar 10 talked about stock specifically. So if you're interested in finding out what they all do, give that a watch. Settings, that's where you find your operative ID and the system name. So if you did need to point to your test system, you'd change the system name in there. And also that's where you set your operative ID. The YouTube channel will launch you off to our YouTube site, and you'll get the playlist that is specific to the mobile app. So that will allow operatives to go in there and watch some useful videos on YouTube. We've already talked about that one. And what we've got here is we've got some jobs lists, which are separated out a little bit weirdly, but we've got all jobs. That will show us all jobs on our device. Places to go will show us things that we need to do. If you've got any completed jobs that haven't been dialed back yet, then they'll be shown under completed. Similarly for stalled, and if you wanted to filter your list for any appointments such as Toolbox Talks, lunches, breaks, anything like that that might be on the device, you can click there to see them as well. It's just a way of filtering your list of jobs on your home screen. Really useful one, the All Photos button. I'm going to click on that now. You can see in mine it doesn't look very exciting, and that's a good thing. If when you click in there as an engineer, what that is a list of photographs that have not yet been sent back to the office. So if you are to take a load of photos on a visit and you're struggling for internet, say, or you go out of an area where the signal dips a bit, or you come out of our app and leave it, it might be that those photographs haven't had time yet to dial back to the office. So if you're in the office waiting for some pictures and the engineer's saying, well, I took them, get them to look in the All Photos option on their menu, and if there's some thumbnails in there, there's a good chance that they're the ones that you're missing. So all you need to do is get them to do a dial. So press the refresh button and leave the app open for a little while. Those photos should dial back. And when you go back into the main menu and go to All Photos again, once the thumbnails have disappeared, that means they've gone back to you in the office. So we've got two options that relate to out of hours or can be used differently. So the out of hours option is exactly as it describes. If you click into there, this allows you as an engineer to raise your own job from the app. So if you're on call and you get a phone call in the middle of the night saying, I need you to go to Wenning Road because there's a problem, you can start typing and press search. And that will go away and look for anything matching that. And you can see I've got 25 sites that match Wenning Road. So I would click into there. Of course, I could search for a particular property, but let's say I want to go to number 2. You click on there and it goes, yeah, I want to book it on that. What's the fault? leaking pipe, and Dave, the resident, has phoned that to you because they've just phoned you. That then does a dial, because what that's done is it's raised the job and sent it back to you. And if I scroll down to the bottom of our list, there it is. It's in here under today, leaking pipe. It's put it in date order there. So you can see that was raised there at 10:26. So I can then accept that job, drive to site, do all the stuff I would normally do, but I've managed to raise that job myself without somebody in the back office needing to do it for me. The other option we've got, and we've got a couple of people doing this in different ways for different things, is your get job list. What that does is allows you to view a list of jobs at a status. So if you've got, say, an out-of-hours call handler or a client with access to your system, the jobs that get logged could get put to a status of out-of-hours call-out job, say, or something like that. And the engineer clicks on Get Job List, and they see a list of all jobs at that status. So we've got one client doing it for out-of-hours. We've got a couple of people doing it for PPMs, where if you've got a batch of PPMs that need to be done in the next couple of months and they get picked off as and when there's time, pop them in a status of PPM jobs to be done when you've got time, and then they can click in there and they can search for things in that list. So again, if you're at Aerial Gardens and go, I could get one of them done, you can click on that and that will then bring that job to you. Do you want that job? You'd say yes, and that would then appear on your list. So we've got people doing it for PPMs. There might be that you've got some really non-urgent routine tasks that get listed and get picked off when you have time. Again, you could put those in there and engineers can grab those when they can. So there's different ways of using the job list. Feel free to ask us about that. We can help you set it up. It just requires a couple of little things in the back office and that option turning on the menu for you. Couple more things. Team members. This is usually used for apprentices. So if you are picking up an apprentice for them to come and work with you for the day, then quite often you can click on team member and pick up that person so they are then tagged with you for the rest of the day. We have got some customers that we've got one that does this for teams of scaffolders. So scaffolding team 1 is the name of the operative. And all they do is at the start of the day, they click in here, they click team members, and they pick the names of the people on the team today. So that then tags those names against the visit. Because the handhold for the team 1, usually the driver of the wagon is the same thing every day, but the people that are working with them might change day in, day out. So you can use it for that purpose as well as apprentices. There's a YouTube video all about how to request absences. That is an optional extra on here as well. You can get engineers to request absence from within the mobile app. If you're interested in that, give that a watch. Other than recording expenses, that's pretty much everything else that we have on our menu. So recording an expense, we have got a facility to do this against the job directly when you're in a job, but we have also got this option here that allows you to do it after the event. And that was designed for people that might, I don't know, drive through a toll road or need to do some parking or something and then need to apply the expense to a job. All you do is you say what the expense amount was. We can set you up with loads of different categories. I've just put 2 in here for parking charges in a hotel. You say what it was for, describe it, and you can search for job numbers within that list to link it to a job as well. And that will appear as a cost against the job. And you just keep adding those as you go. That is our main menu. There's quite a bit there. I hope you've all learned something on the main menu and all the different options we've got at that stage. Going into a job now. So I appreciate at this point we haven't actually opened a job. Let's just go for this top one here. So as I say, I've turned on a few extra things in our app today. We've got the asset details button. You can click on there and you've got potentially some photographs that might have been stashed against the asset. As you can see, that's a demo from one of our stands when we were doing a trade show. You can have post-visit warnings and pre-visit warnings to tell people to do things against a job. So it might be, don't forget to sign into the client's portal when you arrive. Don't forget to do your risk assessment on the client's risk assessment portal. Things like that. And we can also include useful information about the property as well. So we can display that in its own little section here on the main job details page. View ordered lines, a lot of you have that. If you work to SOR codes or you have got items that you've put in as sales lines, multiple of them, they will show in here. If you haven't got those, you just simply get a job description for the job. And again, we've got attachments that might have been previously attached. You can download those just by clicking on the download arrow here. You've got your access notes and notes about all other things. We can reject a job. I'll click into that. I'm sure we all know what that does, but we can see you've got status reasons or reasons for the rejection of a job. Again, all those can be changed. They don't have to look like that. A lot of yours will look like that, but if you've got one option that you want to have and take everything away, do that. You can see here this little flag against the rearranged one. That means that if you select that one, you've got to provide a note. You see here it says notes required. If I tried to end that without, it'll say you need to put a note. So you can set each of your statuses for ending a visit, not just rejecting, it could be aborting, it could be completing, that have to provide an explanation as to why they're doing that. So that is indicated by the flag there. That's something we need to set up for you. So if you want that, give us a shout. We can do that for you. Ordinarily, we would accept a job. So I'm just going to flow through this relatively quickly because I think we're quite familiar with our mobile app in terms of job flow. We've got our estimated journey time screen. This is an optional screen. You don't have to have it. You can get rid of it. If all your work is done within a big site and you never really travel, you're just there, recording travel time is completely useless and data that you don't need. So we can remove it. And we have done for some of our clients that don't require that as well. You should probably already know that you can click on this pin icon to launch Google Maps. And as long as you've got a decent address with a postcode, it will navigate you to where you're going. We've got the working with option, so you can always bring in your apprentice. If you are working with an apprentice on this job, it will then say that you're working with them here. Aborting a visit, again, you can do that. These status reasons can be changed. They can be different for reject and abort, so bear that in mind as well. You can't carry on until you put a value in the ETA box, so that's for you to say when you think you're going to arrive on site. You hit start. Key point on that one, I always do this as part of operative training, is the en route screen. If you are capturing travel, it's important to leave this screen like that. Don't move off this screen. You can close the app, of course, and drive to site, but don't come off this screen by pressing next, because that then says you've arrived. This is now capturing our travel time to the site here. Now, let's say I am driving to site. I come out my app, I load Google Maps and I do it that way, or I put the phone in the glove box. I load the app again, I re-log into my app, and I'm taken to my home screen. You'll notice on the bottom left hand side it says continue. Hit continue, it steps you back into the place that you were at with your job before you closed the app. So I've arrived on site. If I hadn't arrived on site, I could press abort. Now, I've showed you that we've got this mandatory one here. You might want to have mandatory ones set to all your abort reasons so that you've got reasons coming back explaining why they're doing that. Again, if you want that, let us know. The no access, of course, is at this point you can record your no accesses. That's very important. A lot of you really do use our app to great effect to record your no accesses. Hitting no access, grabbing a photograph of yourself or the no access card in front of a closed front door. We do geotag the images, and they're obviously date time stamped at the point that they were taken, so you can really, you've got all the evidence you need for your client to explain why you couldn't get in and when you couldn't get in. However, I'm going to say I've arrived on the site, and instead of doing 10,000 miles, I'm going to do 10,005. So if I do that, the health and safety warning screen, again, it's an optional screen, you don't have to have it, but this shows any health and safety warnings that were at the site. If there aren't any, you get a generic message, and that generic message can be changed. It doesn't have to read that. You can put whatever you want on there. You'll notice there's this up here. That's our customer reference. It's the job number. There's a copy job number button. That copies that to the clipboard. So if you have to go onto a client portal, say, and put that job number in to say you've arrived on their system if we don't integrate to it, or it might be that you've got to carry out a risk assessment online, and so you need to say which job you're working on. Again, a whole number of reasons why you might need to take that job number somewhere else. Just hit that. I've got a pre-visit warning, which is don't forget to log on to the client portal. So if you have to log on to their portal when you arrive, we can display the link to that portal here so you don't have to remember it, and we can just click on that and paste the job number in from here if you need. We display attachments that might be useful, and we don't let you proceed from this screen until you've ticked to say that you've read and understand everything on that page. So if I just hit next, we have a risk assessment screen. Now, some of you that have been with us for a while may remember our very old pre-visit QA, which was a series of check boxes where the only option you had was either put a tick in it or leave it blank. The risk assessment screen, I say it's new, it came in probably about 5 or 6 years ago. This allows you to carry out an actual risk assessment where we can abort the visit at this point and actually give you decent questions with responses that are useful rather than just a tick or a cross. So we can surface on this page documents. So you could open it and read the document that you've been sent, and you mark that as understood. Have you done your risk assessments, yes or no? So we've got options where no is what we would call our deadly answer. I did do a webinar on surveys and things, so this is covered in there. The no with the stop sign in this occasion would abort your visit as a risk assessment failed. We've got options to include NA if it's not relevant, but we've also got options to make yes the deadly answer as well. So if yes means it's not safe, that would then abort that visit as well. And we can have pick lists and we can have yes or no responses, just as you can see there. You can have additional things. So you could have risk ratings and so on. You could put in control measures and everything else that goes with it. Once you've done your risk assessment, you're then on site doing your job. So photographs, we're all very familiar with this bit. You've got the option to take photos or upload photos. I'm not going to demo that right now. We can make those mandatory at both start of visit and end of visit. If it's something you need to be mandatory, we can make it so. If you don't, you don't have to. We display all sorts of information on here, and the next few screens you bounce around as you need to. This is our demo system, so this survey here list is quite extensive. I've got a gas survey, I've got scaffolding, I've got all sorts. These would normally be limited to a trade. My operative is obviously very multi-trade because I want to show this so that it shows all sorts of stuff. You can make things mandatory on here, so certain surveys can be mandatory. If I was a gas engineer, then I would only be getting the gas survey. If I was a heating engineer, I might get gas and the oil-fired one as well. If I was a scaffolder, I'd just be getting this one. So we would limit those by trade, and we get also some that you say are absolutely got to be done. We can make these very mandatory. So you can see at the moment they say it's mandatory, but I can skip. Do you want to leave this screen? Yeah, no problem. I don't actually have to do it, but it's warning me that there were some mandatory questions there that you should probably have done. Do you want to go back and do them? I can go back and I can do them. If you're setting surveys up and you need a hand, we have got videos on that. We've got help articles on it. But if you're struggling because you've not done one before, do give us a shout and we'd be happy to talk you through how to set those up in the back office and how to make sure you get the right ones on the right person's app. We're almost at the end of our mobile app build at the moment. So here we would have our ordered work. If you remember when I clicked on the See Ordered Lines button, if you had been using SOR codes, you'd see a list of SOR codes there that were on the job, and you could simply work your way down and tick them off to say which ones you'd done. Otherwise, you, on the next screen, would record what you did. And also in an SOR code world, we might, instead of having this white text box, which a lot of you do have, you might have an add button at the bottom of the screen where you can search for the actual SOR codes that you have done on that job. And those don't necessarily have to be a full SOR book. It could just be a handful of the codes that you need them to see for the jobs they do. So on there, I can't even remember what my job was for. I think it was an electrical test. It might have been a fire alarm test. I'm going to say it was a fire alarm test because I can't remember what it was. So this is our materials screen. Some of you might have a big white box similar to what was here. That's where you would free type what materials you used on that visit. If you use stock control, this is where you would start to use your stock items that you carry on your van, and this behaves just like this, where you press add and you go through the items that are listed, and the items listed in a stock control world are just the ones that you've got on your app, on your device, on your van. So you won't see things that you don't actually have in stock for you to use. If what you're using is a list, which is what this is, of common items that you might carry, so it saves you having to type them and it saves somebody in the office having to manually put them on the visit for you, you can just simply click them. And I appreciate I've done a fire alarm test, so this is not overly relevant, but I could have used a bag of that, and I could have used a tube of that, and I press back. You can see those two items are listed, and I can work my way through increasing quantities. So that's your materials. If you are currently using a big white box for this, and you look at that now and go, oh, that'd be great, we've got some common van stocks, that'd be brilliant if we could do that, get in touch, give us a shout, we'll help you set that up. And it just means that when that job gets sent back to the office, the sort of average cost to you of one of those is already on the job, so that you don't have to cost that up. Finally, you've got your end of visit screen. Now, as I said before, on other screens, the list of statuses can be changed. You don't have to have the ones that are there. We can remove a couple if you don't need them. We could also set flags for most things. In fact, we have got a customer that's got a flag set to make it mandatory to put a note for everything except complete. I'm going to say it's complete. We've got a retain button. We can take that off. You can leave it on. That means that if you tick that, this job stays on the mobile app and doesn't get sent back to the office. It does on a complete job, but if you were to say it was part complete and retain, it would go stay on your device. And again, we can make photographs mandatory or not mandatory. You'll see here that mine are not. This is an optional screen. Got some people using this, and I've got all sorts of examples shown on this just to give you an idea. But is the property occupied, yes or no? We've got some people using it for capturing whether or not there's equipment left on site. So is there any scaffolding erected at site, yes or no? Have you left any hire equipment? Have you left any fencing? Things like that. And basically any of the responses that you put on here, you can change obviously using the pick list, but those can be displayed on a dashboard widget in the office. And I did do a previous talk on this one where, say for scaffolding, if you're about to get some really high winds, you can look on your dashboard and go, that's where the scaffolding is at the moment. Let's go and double check that it's all secure before the wind comes. You can also do things with photographs and so on. Signature screen. That would be where your operative signs the screen. We know about this. The customer QA. This is an optional screen as well. This is a satisfaction survey, typically, where you can carry out a survey, or the customer can, if they're wanting to. There's a skip button which can be taken away so they can't skip it, or I'll show you what it looks like. You can accept. So the engineer would hand the device to the tenant. They can record different answers. This is star ratings, but we've got ones with a slider bar, we've got ones with smiley faces. There's all sorts of things. So we'd work our way through that. Our customer signature screen, again, change the name of the customer if it's not that person. If they're not there and don't want to sign, you can change the signing types so that they didn't sign for the work. Another screen which you might not have seen, the post-visit warning screen. So a thing to remind you to do something just before you leave site. So this is saying, don't forget to log out the client portal. So if you have to log in when you arrive and log out when you leave, you can remind them to do that so they can click the link and log out. There's also, and this is the final screen, an after visit travel screen, which allows you to capture travel from the last job of the day to the person's end of day location. So if you pay the guys to travel back home or back to the yard after their last job of the day, if they finished at 3 o'clock on site and travelled home for an hour, they could record the hour travel home on this screen by leaving it on that screen, and then when they arrive home, press finish. That will associate that hour's travel to this job. so it gets tagged on the last job of the day. You'll also notice that there's an Add Expenses button. We talked about expenses from the main menu, but Add Expenses allows us to do exactly the same thing, just it's already on the job. So you could say, I incurred a £5 parking charge whilst I was on site. And that will get listed here. You can add more. That will go on the job as a cost. So when you hit finish, again, you'd expect that would be the same mileage, unless you're using after visit travel, of course. So that's now dialed our job back, and our job has now disappeared and has been sent to the office. I've talked a lot there and I've pointed out an awful lot, and that's the reason why we record these sessions and put them on YouTube. So you can go back and recap and fast forward through to the bits that you might find more interesting. So that was how we can help you with our Markus Mobile for sites. We did do a walkthrough of all the screens that we have, and don't forget we can change wording, we can add in screens, we can take away some of the screens you've got. We can make things mandatory or not. So if there's anything you want changing or adding, anything like that, please do ask. Thank you all very much for attending today's webinar. I do appreciate you taking the time to come and sit and listen to me waffle, particularly with my bunged up nose, because I'm really suffering with hay fever today. Our next one will be on the Friday again. I think it's Friday 31st of July, and we're talking about how you can project manage within Markus. It's a specific focus on work plans and cyclical works. So if that interests you, don't forget to register for the webinar and a link will come out to you. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.